service is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
Bakari Sellers and Scott Jennings are here with us now. Bakari, earlier in the show, we played the soundbite from the principal who said, this African proverb, when you pray, move your feet. Yeah. There are many people who want feet to move in the direction of actually addressing what's going on here, rather than just saying it's just something that happens here.
Yeah, but I think we're kind of past that. Most people realize that when you were able to kill 20 some odd young white children in Sandy Hook and nothing changed, that nothing was really going to fundamentally change in this country. This is another sad tragedy. But the problem is that there's an outrage from the right about Jacob Frey, and I'm not a huge Jacob Frey, mayor of Minneapolis. I'm not a huge fan, but he was right. The book of James teaches us that faith without works is dead. And so whether or not he was echoing that sentiment or echoing that scripture, I think that there are a lot of people who were tired of thoughts and prayers, because at the end of the day, thoughts and prayers ring hollow. At the end of the day, thoughts and prayers have led us to having more of these deaths, more of these shootings, more of these individuals who were killed inside of churches, inside of schools, in pews.
And people who are I shouldn't say adjudicated, but people who have known mental illness are still able to very easily, it looks like, according to the police chief in Minneapolis recently, could just go in and get 3 guns and then use those guns to murder children in a school.
Yeah, I actually had a negative reaction to the mayor's statements today. I think it's wrong, frankly, to vilify or attack people of faith. You said thoughts and prayers ring hollow. I think thoughts and prayers are the most solid on days of tragedy for people who live their faith every day. And I think on a day like today, particularly in a church community, there are probably people praying harder for comfort today than they have ever prayed in their life. And so I think, and I've heard others on the left today go down this line of attack against people of faith, sort of denigrating the idea that they might want to pray today. And so I think his statements were misguided. The thing that struck me today, Abby, truthfully, when I was watching this unfold, was that the 2 little ones that died were 8 and 10. I have 7 and 9. Those are my 2 youngest. They turn 8 and 10 in a few days. And we could probably sit here and argue out all the issues of faith and transgenderism and all the other things that have been raised today, but it strikes me that none of us ever want to know the terror and the absolute empty hole that will never be filled that those parents of the 8 and 10-year-old are going to feel. And I just thought maybe tonight the most useful thing any of us could do would take 10 seconds and just sit quietly and be still and be quiet and think about those families, because they are never going to be the same, no matter what we say.
They aren't. And I think that this is, so many times I've sat in this chair all hours of the day and night, and it doesn't matter what time of day, what day of the week, there's another mass shooting in this country. There are people like Senator Chris Murphy.
Can't just get one panel that doesn't bring up the Bible during a political debate, always on the left, by the way. Bakari Sellers sat there and quoted scripture, faith without works is dead. Now, I know a lot of you are more educated on the Bible than I am. If that's how he interprets that verse and that's how he's using it, I really don't think he understands what it means. And I guess my conclusion with this is just when CNN drags the Bible into politics, they're desperate. Because then he piled on with thoughts and prayers ring hollow. That shows the difference in how people interpret Christianity, because prayers never ring hollow. In our best times and our darkest times, the best thing we can do is pray and trust in God. That's why I really like Scott Jennings' response. While the rest of the panel tried to politicize tragedy and stand on the backs of victims, Scott took a sincere moment to acknowledge the pain that these families are going through. And of course, Abby Phillip couldn't help herself, immediately trying to drag it back to guns ruin everything.